waiting to get a nod from Mr. Ashton. We just got that nod. It's Viewpoint, a program of personalities, politicians, and perspectives.
I wonder if Jim ever gets drunk with power. I mean, he tells us when to sit, where to sit, when to talk,
how to
don't
sit
talk.
Up. Yeah. Tells us when to take a station break. You know, he pretty well runs this operation.
At what point in my life can I look forward to having any power? Can anybody answer that?
I'm not getting into those waters, and no.
Not so much? And how about my dry skin?
I knew that.
Okay, well, I tell you what I have here. Do you want to hear it?
Why? What?
Okay, now this is an addendum. I just happened to walk into the door this morning, and the telephone was ringing, and Jim had just finished the sportscast, and he missed a biggie, okay? And this nice lady called to tell us that last evening, Chester East Lincoln volleyball players won third in the state up at Hardham is where the games were.
Good for them.
In the 8th grade Class A. So congratulations to Chester East Lincoln. I'm sure they're just puffed up to beat the Cars today.
You know,
that's a nice thing.
Well, we're on kudos about athletics and so forth. It just so happens that the reason I wore a Lincoln College shirt is that I wanted to call attention to the fact that 3 years in a row in Danville, the first year we won 3rd place. Next year we won 1st in this nation, and this year we won 1st in the nation again. So
now how about that?
Kudos to Lincoln, to Kirk Whiteman. He just really is a whitehead. I mean, what day is today? Oh yes, why are we here?
How quickly we forget. But you know, they've got such a tradition at Lincoln College
Kirk is a great,
winning and being
Kirk
first.
He's a great coach. Got a great family.
Oh, I thought you said he was a preacher.
No. He does a good job with these kids. He handles them with a lot of finesse. Knows when to put them down on the bench, and so they can kind of reevaluate their positions and so forth.
Just think about it.
And has been known to have good players sit out a whole game. To kind of get their attention. Uses a gentle two before. Kirk's a great guy, and among the other good coaches we got up there, and we've also, by the by, had some national champs and swimming and diving and so forth. But good things going on up there, by golly. Last night, I sat around dialing around, and I came up looking for something in that vast wasteland that Newt Middle called TV. And sure enough, PBS, who's going to get some short funding, by the way, and maybe rightfully so to some extent, they had another Ken Burns special on, and it's run before. It was on Mark Twain.
Oh.
Very, very, very interesting. Of course, Burns does a magnificent job, and the photos and the fade-ins. But he had some wonderful old shots of the old river life and all the black folks down there in the along the river banks and so forth, and those were really miserable times for those folks, no question about that. But there was some wonderful photography, in particular the river scenes and various times of the day. It was just very, very interesting. Did you know Pine Top Smith died?
I didn't get the email on that, no. You obviously did.
Pine Top.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, he lived to be nearly 100, 95, I think. Pine Top was in the news today. He was one of the great blues and jazz pianists. Totally uneducated, except for music. And he was a tour de force in the music world. So, God rest Pine Top.
How come he was named Pine Top?
I've conferred with him on 2 or 3 occasions, and he never divulged that to me at all. Yeah, you have something you want to talk about. We will bring you on, Jessica, at some point in time.
You take your time.
Yeah,
Patience is a virtue for which we must all strive. Yes.
But we have a little business we have to take care of first. You understand that?
I do.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of I guess the reason I thought you said something about religion was because I have a little thing here about religion. It's about show and tell. A kindergarten teacher gave her class a show and tell assignment. Each student was instructed to bring in an object to share with the class that represented their religion. The first student got up in front of the class and said, "My name is Benjamin, and I'm Jewish, and this is a Star of David." The second student got up in front of the class and said, "My name is Mary. I'm a Catholic. This is a rosary." The third student got up in front of the class and said, "My name is Tommy. I am a Methodist, and this is a casserole." I thought that was kind of cute. I thought that was kind of cute.
Well, yeah, rosary. I've told it. I'm sure I've told it on the air. My famous rosary story. I apologize if I repeat it. In the eons ago, when I was a kid in the Air Corps, going basic training and radio training in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, I met a nice young lady at the USO dances, and she was kind enough to ask me to go to their house for dinner a couple, 3 or 4 Sundays. And anyway, we went to church with them. There was a big cathedral there, a big Catholic cathedral in Sioux Falls. And a youngster was being disruptive and so forth down front. And the mother in desperation gave him a rosary. And he thought that was all right. Pretty soon he started swinging around. You could hear it all over the church. He said, "Hang on, Jesus, I'll take you for a ride." You could hear that. And I've remembered that go these many years since. All right. Why don't you introduce our nice guest?
I'd like to do that. She's very pretty, and as luck would have it, people can see now that she's very pretty.
Yes.
So that's
right.
a blessing.
Yes, that you'll be seen in Bangladesh to Reykjavik, Iceland.
How about that?
And wherever
I don't
else
think
that
that's ever
internet
happened
goes.
to me before.
Yeah, no kidding.
Jessica Becker is with the Central Illinois Community Blood Center. Now that is the organization that services us here in Lincoln and at Abraham Lincoln Memorial Hospital. And we have an opportunity, isn't it the first Monday of every month? There's a blood drive.
First Monday of every single month at the
Of
Lincoln
the
Masonic
world.
Center.
And it's sponsored then by different churches and organizations and interests. You know, Jessica, my other job is at the hospital, and I've had occasion to take a unit of blood from the lab to the floors, and it was very interesting to me to see how tightly regulated that is. You just don't go in there and say, "Hey, give me a sack of that, will you?"
No, we know where that blood is at every moment of the day.
And even just because I took it on the elevator and went upstairs with it, I had to sign for it too.
Exactly.
And we cross-read all the numbers that were pertinent to that particular unit. She'd read them to me, I'd check them off, I'd read them to her, she'd check them off. Very, very tight.
Yes.
And you hear once in a while on the national news about a mistake having been made somewhere and someone got the wrong unit. But boy, I don't see how it happens.
It really hasn't happened in a very long time, because as we learn more, as our science and culture grows, we've regulated it more and more. Back in the 70s when HIV started first coming to our awareness, we went through universal precautions, nationwide in our hospital healthcare community, and we did the same in the blood industry. So we are very, very sterile now, and it just doesn't happen.
Jim feels good about that because God forbid he should get my blood if he needs a transfusion.
Oh, dear. How long has Central Illinois Community Blood Center been in existence?
We have been a not-for-profit organization since 1971. We were actually founded by Memorial and St. John's at their request, because prior to that they were blood banking themselves. They were collecting the blood that they needed for surgeries, and it's an overwhelming process. I mean, it requires a separate organization to do that. So we've been serving this community for about 41 years. We serve 15 counties and 12 hospitals as their only supplier of blood. Back in July of this year, we merged with Mississippi Valley Regional Blood Center, which is located out of Davenport, Iowa. They cover just a little bit of Iowa, a little bit of Wisconsin, a little bit of Missouri, and a little bit of Illinois. So together, combined, we now serve 75 hospitals and require 165,000 units of blood every year.
Oh, my.
Yeah. However, we are still committed to Central Illinois. We are still committed to the Central Illinois hospitals. We are still their provider of blood.
Well, it seems, I wanted to ask a question here. You mentioned as far as the chronology of the organization is concerned. It seems to me, I know it was back in the 50s, I'd go to church basements and gymnasiums to get
We still do that.
Yeah. That went on a lot prior to. And you say, when did you begin in this organization per se?
Personally?
Yeah, no, I mean the organizational, as it in...
Not 1971.
71, yeah. So, probably before then, it was kind of a laissez-faire, so to speak. They'd bring a crew in, and to get the volunteers, and to get into the Methodist church basement or the Christian church or wherever. And we'd line up and give her blood, and that was that. But now, we've got it down to it was done well. It was not poorly handled then. Make no mistake about that. But it seems to me now that you've got this rearranged to
we
more
have
finite science,
because our population has grown and we therefore require more blood. We are a lot more attentive to how we treat donors. We personally are very well known for customer service and retention. We have one of the highest donor retention rates in the country. We have one of the highest donor centers that collects blood in the country. Our staff retention rate is one of the highest in the country. We have really made a place for ourselves in the country in terms of blood centers.
Made your mark, didn't you?
We have. And along with that, what we've done by making that mark is we've paid attention to donors and what they need in customer service, and we want to make sure that they know how appreciated they are. We don't want to waste their time. We want to make sure that they try to that we kind of know how many people are going to be there, so we have the right staff, we have the right supplies, that they don't have to wait too long. We try to get them to sign up. We make it possible to do so on our website at cicbc.org by calling me or by calling our center, and that helps us out by making sure that we kind of have a nice stream of people, and people aren't waiting too long. And we really try to make sure that that the donors understand the whole process and really are valued for what they do.
Wherever people give in the various communities, and it's not uncommon, I'm sure. Judy and I know quite a few people who have given several gallons.
Oh, yeah.
Many gallons. I think I topped it off at 4 and then quit.
But that's a lot.
It sure is.
Speaking of ages, what age do you recommend folks not going in there, or is there?
We don't. There is no upper age limit. We have people well into their 90s giving regularly. It really just depends on how you are feeling, how healthy you're feeling. 16-year-olds need parental consent to give. 17-year-olds don't in the state of Illinois. But there is no upper age limit. And that's really, when you do get into that age range, talk it over with your doctor, see what they say. But really, it's up to you and how you feel.
I didn't know that. I didn't realize that at all.
And that's kind of the age when medicines and health conditions are going to play a factor in making that decision for you. But if you're otherwise healthy, there's no reason not to keep giving.
There was a time when I understood that for instance, if I needed some units of blood for surgery or something, I could either pay for it or I could get Bill and Jim and you to each give a pint to offset that cost.
Correct.
Why and when did they do away with that? Because I don't think anybody does that anymore.
No, we don't. Back in, I think it's about mid-'80s, that was viewed as, we are regulated by the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, because what we do with the blood is we tend to separate it into the whole blood into 3 different products: red cells, platelets, and plasma. So then it becomes a blood product. We are regulated by the FDA. Back in the 80s, the FDA said you can't give a cash incentive to give blood. because people are going to be more likely to not exactly tell the truth or whatever. So we want our blood to come from solidly volunteer donors so that they have no incentive to give blood other than the goodness of their heart. So that makes our blood supply healthy. It keeps our communities healthy. So we did away with that incentive of when you are going to need blood to have people donate for you and offset that cost. However, people can still give blood for it's called a directed donation for a donor that they know, like a family member, if they are the right type. It just won't offset the cost. But some people just feel more comfortable doing that, and that's fine.
Now, speaking of cost, there was a time when they used to pay people, too, to come in. And
Correct.
The stories that you'd hear, I can't certainly attest to it firsthand, but they talked about going in areas where the homeless were, for instance, and
Into prisons.
saying, if you'll give a pint of blood, I'll give you however many dollars they gave them. I don't know what it was. Do they do that anymore?
Absolutely not. No.
No more of that.
No.
Sure run the liquor business.
After, along with that, one of our restrictions is that you cannot be in lockup, prison, or jail for 72 hours or more. It's a 1-year deferral if you are.
What was that about jail?
You cannot be in prison, lockup, or jail detention for 72 hours or more. Otherwise, we will defer you for 1 year.
For your whole life?
No, just for 1 year. Yeah, just for 1 year.
Okay, well,
Because, and here's why.
Well, I haven't been. I just want to make that perfectly
okay,
clear.
That's good to know. But because those communities are vulnerable to certain diseases, we do not want to take that risk. So we no longer do that. No one does that. We never did, because we were started in 1971, but no one does that anymore. We don't want to give a cash incentive because, like I said, people are going to be more willing to lie. And we ask you 49 very personal questions about your lifestyle, about your health, about your habits, and we don't want people to...
I knew there was a reason I wouldn't.
It's completely anonymous.
Yeah.
No one other than the phlebotomist is in the room with you at the time. We make sure that when we're at a blood drive, we are a certain amount of feet away from any other donor. So it is completely private, completely anonymous. I don't even have access to that information once you donate. I can't see that.
Well, after she's talked to so many people, how can she remember
and that's the other
I
thing.
didn't have blue blood,
Yeah, I just don't even remember it. And nothing surprises me anymore.
Well,
Give that up, huh?
Right. I want to clear up one thing, Jessica, and that is some folks may have a feeling that that hurts. Not a bit. And I would encourage folks to, if they're holding back for any reason at all about being squeamish about that, let's not do that, because there's no discomfort at all.
That is and isn't true. We like to say that, but some people are very, very sensitive to pain. If you had your ears pierced, it hurts less than that, and that would give you an idea of what you're going to experience. You can have a pinprick in your finger, which is called a hematocrit.
Yeah.
Test your iron level, and then the needle goes in your arm, stays there for 5 to 10 minutes, and it comes out. If you can stomach that, if you can close your eyes and look away and just think about all the good that you're doing, I promise you, if you try it once, you'll get through it just fine. But about 7% of people actually have a phobia of needles, and for those people, if you can't get over it, just ask someone else to give. Not everyone can give, and that's one of the reasons that people can't. And what I do for those people is, if you can't give for whatever reason, please just ask someone else to give, or help support a family member who gives by cooking them a nice dinner. I don't think it hurts at all. It's honestly, it's a little pinprick in your finger, in your arm, and that's it. It's a very small needle.
But the actual process of giving the blood, you don't even know it's happening.
No, you
except that you're-
don't. You can bring your iPod in, you can watch TV, read a book, you can just talk for a few minutes, and then it's over. I mean, and you'll sit for a few minutes afterwards, drink orange juice and water to replenish the fluids that were lost.
And
Eat
cookies and sandwiches.
Cookies are very important, and the sandwiches. Can't forget the sandwiches. And that just replaces the sugar and fluids that were lost quickly. We want you to eat a good meal that night, drink plenty of fluids for the next couple of days, avoid alcohol, avoid smoking tobacco for at least 30 minutes, preferably a couple hours, and just take care of yourself. And people can do it 6 times a year, every 8 weeks. Your body quickly makes up that blood, and it goes to someone who needs it.
How long does the actual process take for your body to replace that which you've given?
You can give every 56 days, but it's about 42 days where your body has fully replaced that amount of blood, but your body kicks in right away. I mean, your body's always making new cells, just always. So that's why we say 56 days every 8 weeks.
How many pints do we each have before we give a pint?
An adult male has about 10 to 12 pints. So we take, on average, about 10% of your blood volume. We take 1 pint and about a tablespoon. The tablespoon goes for testing. But we take 1 pint, and we can do that every 56 days.
648-5510. Somebody might have a question of Jessica. If you've never been through the process, it's very swift, not difficult at all, and it doesn't take that much time out of your day. Particularly some of us old codgers who are retired and have more time. It beats sitting in front of the TV. So 648-5510, and I think at this particular time we might be thinking in terms of a commercial break.